Every single mistake you allow today will autograph tomorrow's humiliation. Machiavelli learned this harsh truth navigating the lethal courts of Renaissance Florence. But this lesson cuts even deeper for anyone between 20 and 45, building a reputation under fluorescent office lights, in group chats that never sleep, and across social feeds that judge before they blink. The screens might be new, but the stakes are timeless. Lose control of your image and you lose everything that image can buy. Respect at work, leverage in negotiations, attraction relationships, even the right to be heard at your own dinner table. Machiavelli mapped 7 humiliations so subtle they masquerade as virtues, so common they pass for good manners, and so lethal they can bankrupt your future before you notice the balance is gone. The first humiliation arrives disguised as harmony. You tell yourself you're easygoing, chill, the bigger person. So when a colleague ends a meeting with a joke about your inexperience, you laugh along. When a friend cancels plans for the 3rd time, you shrug and say, "No worries, life's crazy." When a date scrolls their phone while you speak, you pretend not to notice. You think you're being mature. They think they just confirmed your feelings, your schedule, and your words have no enforcement mechanism. At 25, you call it being flexible. At 35, you wonder why nobody values your time. At 45, you look back at a highlight reel of concessions and ask where your confidence went. Machiavelli's warning was precise. The first crack in the wall is almost invisible. By the time daylight floods through it, repair costs everything. The second humiliation is born from generosity that forgets scarcity. You answer emails before the sender's finger leaves the send key. You're the volunteer who finishes what others abandon, the friend who always drives, the partner who rearranges plans. It feels loyal, indispensable. But constant availability rots into silent contempt. Response time becomes the metric of your worth. Friends feel slighted by a 10-minute delay. Managers expect urgent replies at midnight. Partners assume canceling your gym session is a tiny ask. Machiavelli's formula for power is counterintuitive but timeless. Anything freely accessible is quietly devalued. Ration your presence like gold. The less often it circulates, the higher its market price. Let your phone sleep face down. Let them wonder how many invitations you receive. Mystery inflates perceived status faster than any resume bullet. The third humiliation hides beneath the veneer of clarity. You over-explain. You deliver disclaimers so thorough they could pass legal review. Just to be clear, what I meant was, you think you're preventing misunderstandings. Listeners register anxiety. A manager asks why you were late, and you outline traffic patterns, construction zones, and satellite data. They stop listening by sentence 3 and start cataloging excuses. A date asks what you like about them, and you unspool a rehearsed paragraph of adjectives. Machiavelli noted that people judge by appearance, not intention. Brevity is a silent brag. It says, "I'm so certain you can fill in the blanks." Long-windedness begs permission to exist. Say less. Let pauses work for you. Silence is a velvet-lined box. What you place inside seems valuable because the box looked expensive. The fourth humiliation blooms when you tolerate micro-disrespect in public. Meetings move to decisions before you've spoken, and you nod politely. A friend retells a story where your idea becomes theirs and you let it slide. A sibling ridicules your side hustle at dinner, and you smirk and change topics. Each incident teaches the room one lesson. Your status can be dented without penalty. In tribal psychology, status is protection. The low rank eat last. Machiavelli didn't need neuroscience to know the solution: immediate correction. It doesn't require shouting. Sometimes you simply stop smiling. Allow silence to pressurize the moment. Resume only after the offender stumbles. That tiny beat, one heartbeat longer than comfort, rewires perception more effectively than a lecture. The boundary must be drawn while the paint is still wet. Once it dries, it will not accept color. The fifth humiliation strikes when you argue facts after someone chooses theater. A colleague publicly frames you as careless. You open spreadsheets. A partner accuses you of selfishness. You list last week's sacrifices. Audiences reward the bold, not the accurate. By defending point by point, you grant your accuser judge's robes and place yourself in the dock. Machiavelli would advise a pivot. Refuse the premise. Change the stakes. Walk away mid-sentence so the crowd wonders what power move you know. Truth survives in private. Status is settled in public. Save evidence for decision-makers who sign checks. Everyone else just needs to feel you won't bleed for their applause. The sixth humiliation masquerades as a comeback strategy. You sense your reputation has slipped. A rumor at work, a colder tone from friends. So you double your kindness output. More favors, extra compliments, jokes at your own expense. You want to prove the talk wrong, yet contrition signals concurrence. You confirm you're beneath them by laboring to charm them. The court jester is beloved, but always one pratfall from dismissal. Genuine recovery demands distance, transformation, return. Vanish into self-improvement. Emerge with evidence in your aura, not your words. Let them see progress they can't quantify, a leaner frame, calmer eyes, a new network, bigger opportunities. People hate revising a narrative unless the sequel dazzles. Give them the spectacle of your upgrade, not the plea to accept version 1. The seventh humiliation is the sweetest poison. Belief in moral immunity. You trust honesty, loyalty, and hard work will force recognition. You imagine if you keep helping, smiling, producing, the right people will see your heart and elevate you. Machiavelli called that thinking suicidal, not because virtue is worthless, but because virtue without leverage is prey. Offices reward the team player who holds leverage. Relationships reward love that commands admiration. Society rewards generosity backstopped by boundaries. When you rely on goodness alone, you train predators to spot halos and sharpen knives. Marry your integrity to consequences. If someone abuses your openness, close the door and lock it. If they test your kindness, let them taste absence. Deterrence is the guardrail letting virtue drive the road instead of tumbling down the cliff. Thread these 7 humiliations together and you see the trap. They sprout from fear. Fear of being disliked, misunderstood, alone, or labeled difficult. And the fear is universal. The 20-something clinging to their first job. The 30-something juggling career and family. The 40-something watching younger colleagues rise. Fear whispers survival depends on softness. Machiavelli answers with a harder truth. Survival depends on perceived consequence. You can still be gentle, generous, honest, once people know the cost of trampling those qualities. So what does reversal look like? You wake before the alarm. You scroll notifications but don't answer until you've exercised, eaten, and decided who merits your energy. In that meeting where your idea is miscredited, you pause, tilt your head, and calmly say, "Actually, that concept originated in my draft last Tuesday. Let's clarify the credit so follow-ups don't get tangled." You let the sentence hang. Eyes swing your way, recalibrating. When a group chat demands instant replies, you leave read receipts off, respond at strategic intervals. Your silence starts to feel expensive. At lunch, a friend teases your ambitions. Instead of laughing, you sip water, raise an eyebrow, and ask, "You good?" The silence that follows is uncomfortable for them, not you. After work, a manager calls with a quick task. You say, "I can start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Tonight's booked." The line goes quiet then. "Oh, okay." Your pulse stays steady. The sky doesn't fall. Your dignity inflates by millimeters. Consistency cements this. 3 weeks of rationed availability force coworkers to schedule instead of ambush. 1 month of concise communication trains clients to believe your words carry premium weight. 6 months of boundary enforcement retrains friends, family, and dates to measure their demands against the cost of your withdrawal. A year later, the respect you once begged flows unsolicited. You never shouted, never lied, never became cruel. You simply removed discounts from your self-worth. Machiavelli would nod. The prince who governs himself first governs others by default. This isn't about becoming someone you loathe. It's about becoming the version of you your best friend swears exists. The one who nailed that presentation, the one who punched the bully, stealing your sibling's lunch, that you still breathe beneath the apologies and frantic emojis. Strip away the humiliations and the core remains, virtuous but armored, kind but unmoved by coercion, loyal but never leashed. New power will alienate people, but only those profiting from your powerlessness. Let them drift. The network forming in the vacuum will be smaller, sharper, and exponentially more useful. Modern life is no gentler than Machiavelli's Florence. The knives are tweets and screenshots, but the wounds bleed the same. Remember, each small concession compounds. So does each correction. Stand up once, you become noteworthy. Stand up twice, you become memorable. Stand up every time, you become untouchable. One day, someone will test you, a sarcastic quip, a petty demand. They'll pause, remembering rumors you've changed, but test anyway. You meet their eyes, say nothing, and wait. They retreat, laughing awkwardly. The room senses the shift. No fanfare, just the crisp snap of old hierarchies collapsing. That is the sound of future humiliation evaporating. That is Machiavelli's wisdom alive today. The moment when someone tests you and retreats, that's not the end. It's the foundation. Now your real work begins, because power, even the quiet power of respect, attracts subtler predators. Some will present as allies. They'll praise your boundaries, mirror your language of scarcity, position themselves as co-architects of your ascent. They speak in we, trade in flattery, propose partnerships too synergistic to refuse. Here Machiavelli whispers, vigilance upgrades with victory. Before merging paths, ask, does this person bring value equal to what they extract? Do they credit your armor or hope to melt it down? Have they shown loyalty when no audience watched? If any answer falters, throttle access. Better a smaller circle of equals than a circus of tributaries waiting to siphon your prestige. Now envy appears. Humans aged 20 to 45 measure themselves mercilessly. Who bought the house? Who married? Who climbed fastest? Your refusal to shrink casts unflattering light on those still playing small. Instead of growing, some will try to dim your bulb. Expect gossip recasting your firmness as coldness, your boundaries as bitterness, your confidence as ego. Expect half-truths screenshotted in private channels, abrupt unfollows from people who once spammed hearts on your posts. Measure their departure like a general counting spies caught at the gate. Proof the fortification works. Machiavelli was brutal here. Never answer reputational attacks at the attacker's altitude. Rise higher. Create results too visible for whispers to eclipse. A promotion, a sold-out launch, a flawless keynote. Let achievements drown rumors in applause. But the fiercest battle? Internal. Nights when old programming claws your chest, the urge to over-explain just in case, to soften so they're comfortable, to accept that invitation because they might think I'm rude. In these moments, borrow Seneca. The man who seeks approval collects chains. Will yielding protect my peace or just postpone their discomfort? Will defending my boundary cost me more or cost them the effort they should have spent? Sleep on it. Let the chain rust overnight. As success compounds, upgrade your scarcity. Early on, limiting texts felt radical. Now stakes include equity, reputation, the attention of thousands. Guard your calendar down to the quarter hour. Guard your thoughts. Curate podcasts, timelines, doom scrolling. Guard your emotions by identifying unwinnable wars. A clever Twitter insult can bait you into bleeding credibility for an audience you'll never meet. Remember, over-explanation online multiplies in cost through screenshots. A single outburst becomes portable evidence for rivals to recast boundaries as bullying. Don't hand them that trophy. If the breach is minor, ignore it. If major, escalate silently through channels with teeth. Copyright strikes, formal complaints, legal warnings. Wars are won by controlling terrain, not shouting across valleys. By year 2, your perimeter becomes culture. People introduce you with adjectives you once whispered as affirmations. Disciplined, magnetic, unshakable. You still fail, misjudge, overshare. But corrections turn swift and surgical. You apologize only when it serves strategic repair, never to comfort those hoping to see you squirm. Your network resets around these standards. Mentors appear, recognizing a mind no longer drowning in distraction. Protégés gather, craving the blueprint you embody. Here, Machiavelli's edge returns. Ration, even wisdom, give principles freely. But ration personal access like gold. Relationships transform. Dates who push boundaries vanish after one misstep. Those who respect them flourish in the certainty your yes means yes, your no means no. Intimacy deepens under that clarity. Emotional labor once wasted. Deciphering mixed signals now fuels shared ambition or restorative stillness. Even disagreements evolve. No one begs. Needs are stated. Terms negotiated. Consequences enforced. Partnerships thrive not on harmony, but mutual fearlessness. Both certain the other will leave before tolerating decay. In career negotiations, you wield a weapon once unattainable, the power of walking away. Recruiters sense it in your tone. Clients feel it when you refuse unrealistic timelines. The irony? The option you guard most, willingness to exit, becomes the one you rarely use. Respect extends contracts, sweetens budgets, silences critics. Machiavelli knew. Men seldom attack fortresses. They doubt they can conquer quickly. Your proven strength makes most aggressors pivot. The stubborn few? They become the backdrop against which allies prove loyalty. Defending you not from charity, but because your citadel, once spared, shelters them too. But understand, every stage demands recommitment. Complacency invites erosion. Erosion invites the ridicule you spent years burying. Audit relentlessly. Once a quarter, scan your digital footprint for creeping apology language. Once a month, dissect your calendar. Who gains most from each meeting? Does their contribution match your investment? Weekly, track metrics beneath success's glare. Sleep hours, gym sessions, unstructured reading. A fortress captain who never rests eventually nods off. Self-respect thrives when body, schedule, and mind align in disciplined symmetry. A final caution. The world will label this philosophy toxic, precisely because it neutralizes tactics others rely on. Those disturbed by your resilience will call you cold, individualistic, ruthless. Accept it. Machiavelli clarified, reputations have two ingredients, what you do and what enemies say about it. You control the former completely. Influence the latter only by refusing to act as predicted. Smile when they expect fury. grow silent when they crave defense, deliver shocking generosity to someone who earned it, right after showing iron to someone who didn't. Keep them recalibrating. Fatigue wins battles before swords clash. If doubt lingers, revisit the timeline you escaped. Remember midnights shattered by texts. No worries, as your auto-reply. Believing more detail would fix misunderstanding. Jokes landing on shoulders because your back never stiffened. Now contrast. Messages answered after reflection. Meetings run on your agenda, respect vibrating in pauses that make careless people rethink their punchlines. That gap is your moat. Guard it. Expand it. Walk its perimeter at sunrise. Trace your hand along the wall. Remember every hairline crack patched in those trembling early weeks. You earned the right to feel stone under palm. And now stand tall on the battlements. Look outward, not for threats, but for opportunities only revealed to the unhumiliable. Your vigil isn't ending. It's evolving. Because when you radiate unbreakability, you become a beacon. Younger colleagues with trembling voices, friends in lopsided romances, siblings gasping beneath unsaid expectations, all drift toward the citadel they sense in you. Welcome them, but never abdicate the gatekeeping that built your fortress. Teach by example, never dilution. Let them witness the discipline of a calendar you refuse to overfill, the dignity of silences unpadded by apologies, the quiet power of a single raised eyebrow arresting disrespect mid-sentence. Yet heed Machiavelli's final warning. Do not confuse mentorship with martyrdom. Offer principles, not endless rescues. Everyone must lay their own stones, patch their own fissures, choose their own thresholds. Your duty? Prove transformation is doable. Theirs? Bleed for it just enough to value what they build. The instant you shoulder another's indifference to humiliation, you invite the crack you swore to seal. So when night drapes the ramparts, rest. Savor wind that no longer smells of urgency. Sleep without phantom buzzes demanding explanations you no longer owe. At dawn, the light will find you walking that wall again. Steady steps, unfettered heart, eyes scanning not for danger, but for distant glimmers of ambition worthy of your domain. The world remains unpredictable, but within these stones you hold the rarest currency. Unassailable knowledge that whatever storm comes, the first crack is already sealed by resolve thicker than mortar. That is how princes become legends.